I'm attorney Gloria Allred, and with me is our co-counsel, Carlos Hernandez, and Alina Vulic. I'm going to make a statement, and then I will read a statement from the sister of Halyna Hutchins, and then we'll be happy to answer any questions. Mr. Hernandez also speaks Spanish, so if anyone would like a comment in Spanish, we can provide that. Okay. We represent Olga Solovey, Anatoly Andrasovich, and Svetlana Zemko, the mother, father, and sister, respectively, of Rus cinematographer Halyna Hutchins. And this is about Twas the Nightmare Before Christmas. As you can imagine, Halyna's family was devastated after hearing that the criminal case against Alec Baldwin was devastated, and that the case was dismissed by the judge before the jury was given the opportunity to fully hear the facts related to Halyna's death. My clients believe that there was no justice because an impartial jury was not given the opportunity to reach a verdict regarding the guilt or innocence of Alec Baldwin. The sudden dismissal with prejudice of the criminal case by the court has left the family reeling from what they feel was an unjust outcome and a denial of justice in the criminal justice system. They wanted justice for their beloved Halyna, who was killed when a bullet was discharged from the gun held by Alec Baldwin. They expected better from a court in the United States of America, and they are living in a war zone in Ukraine. Olga, Anatoly, and Svetlana had fully supported the appeal of the court's dismissal with prejudice that had been initiated by special counsel Carrie Morrissey, with the authorization of the district attorney in Santa Fe. However, based upon Ms. Morrissey's press statement, which she issued yesterday, the Attorney General of New Mexico, quote, did not intend to exhaustively pursue the appeal on behalf of the prosecution, end quote. As such, the special counsel felt that she had no other option and needed to inform the court that she was withdrawing the notice of appeal from the dismissal of the criminal case, even though she felt that the dismissal of the criminal case was wrongly decided by the judge at the trial. The district attorney and special counsel felt that they had no other option because in New Mexico, the state's attorney general is the only one who is legally entitled to pursue an appeal and defend the state. And he had indicated that he would not do that in this case. His decision is the rare exception to his office's usual practice of defending a prosecutor's case on appeal. In plain English, that meant that it was futile for the prosecution to continue to take any additional steps to pursue the appeal. This news has been very upsetting to Halyna's mother, father, and sister. First, Judge Marlo Summer took the criminal case away from the jury, depriving them of the ability to decide the criminal case against Alec Baldwin, in which he was charged with involuntary manslaughter. Then the New Mexico Attorney General, Raul Torres, decided that he would not allow the justices of the New Mexico's appellate court to decide if the trial judge's decision was correct or if the trial court had wrongfully decided the case, and if, as a result, there should be a new trial. And a New Mexico jury should have an opportunity to decide if Alec Baldwin was guilty or not guilty of involuntary manslaughter. Clearly, the rights of Alec Baldwin were protected, but the due process rights of the victims, Halyna Hutchins and her parents and her sister, were violated. Even though the New Mexico Victims' Rights Statute states that, quote, a victim shall have the right to be treated with fairness and respect for the victim's dignity throughout the criminal justice process, end quote. That did not happen here. For example, even though the New Mexico victims' rights law indicates that a victim shall have a right to confer with the prosecution, the New Mexico Attorney General never even spoke to Halyna's parents and sister, nor did he reach out to their private attorneys to contact them. In addition, he never gave a reason that he would not pursue an appeal. We are very grateful to Special Prosecutor Carrie Morrissey, who was dedicated to achieving justice for the victims in this criminal case, and who worked night and day and on weekends to prepare this criminal case for the jury to decide, and who was willing to pursue this case and support the Attorney General in an appeal to a higher court in New Mexico. We believe that she has been unfairly attacked and that she was and is still a professional and a talented attorney. Unfortunately, however, the New Mexico Attorney General has blocked her desire to continue the appellate process, and as such, any additional steps taken by her would be futile. As she said in her notice of the withdrawal of her notice of appeal yesterday, quote, "The charges against Mr. Baldwin were pursued after the discovery of very significant evidence that Mr. Baldwin violated gun safety rules established for the safe handling of firearms on movie sets," end quote. Even though the criminal justice system and case has now concluded, and Halyna's parents were denied justice in the criminal case, we will continue to fight for justice in our civil lawsuit in New Mexico against Alec Baldwin and the Rust Productions, and we will vigorously continue to litigate our case in the civil court in New Mexico. As for Olga, Halyna's mother, it is another Christmas without her beloved daughter, Halyna, and another Christmas without justice. Halyna, her parents and sister deserve justice, and they deserve accountability, and we will fight the good fight for them in their lawsuit. We have confidence that a New Mexico jury, if allowed to decide our civil case, would do the right thing, and we, as their lawyers, will do anything and everything that is legally possible and appropriate to win justice for Halyna and her family. Although the Attorney General of New Mexico, Raul Torres, is the Grinch who stole this Christmas, we will work to assure that a future Christmas will be without this Grinch. And we'll be happy to answer questions. I just want to add the statement of Svetlana Zemko, sister of Halyna Hutchins, and I'll provide copies so everyone has the correct spelling. My family is deeply disappointed both by the court's dismissal of the criminal case against Alec Baldwin and now by the recent withdrawal of the appeal that would have reviewed that dismissal. Mr. Baldwin must be held accountable for my sister's death that was caused when he discharged a loaded gun at her. He has never contacted our family to apologize or accept any responsibility whatsoever for her death. My mother, father, and I will press forward with our civil lawsuit until there is justice for the devastating loss of Halyna from our lives, caused by Mr. Baldwin. And this is a statement by me and my law firm and our co-counsel, Carlos and Alina, and also John Carpenter of the Carpenter Zuckerman Law Firm, who couldn't be with us today. We also have photos, which we will put out afterwards, And this is Halyna, and this is Olga, and this is Olga's grandson, Halyna's son. And this was in happier times, obviously. He's much older now, but we've still blocked out his photo. And also, this is Halyna, and this is her sister, Svetlana, whose statement I just read. And we'll put these out. Okay. Thank you. Oops. Okay. Now we'll be happy to take any questions.
Gloria, can you tell us the status of the civil lawsuit?
Sure. You want to talk about that?
Sure.
It's here. Let's. You know what? Why don't you just take my seat here? Go ahead.
So, as many of you know, our civil lawsuit is filed currently in New Mexico in the First Judicial District there. And Mr. Baldwin, from the start of our civil lawsuit, has attempted to stay the entirety of the civil proceedings. And this went back to when our lawsuit was actually in California. He had recently filed a motion to stay the entirety of the civil proceedings in New Mexico because of the notice of appeal that had been filed by the special prosecutor, Ms. Morrissey. With the withdrawal that was made public yesterday, we are now able to fully proceed with our civil case without any impediment from Mr. Baldwin and his legal team that it implicates his right to remain silent and avoid self-incrimination. With the conclusion now of the criminal case, we look forward to proceeding in New Mexico, and his filing of the stay motion is moot, since there is no reason now why Mr. Baldwin cannot sit for a civil deposition, respond to written questions, written interrogatories, and provide us with any and all documents that are relevant in our civil case. So we look forward to being able to do that without any further roadblocks from Mr. Baldwin and his legal team.
But the fact that there will be no criminal charges, does that weaken the civil case?
Would you like to address that?
I couldn't hear it.
Can you repeat the question?
The fact that there will be no criminal charges
Yes,
against
if you'd
Alec
like.
Baldwin, does that weaken your civil case against him?
Do you want to respond to that?
You can.
No, the criminal case and the civil case are different. There is a different burden of proof in our civil case. As we all know, in criminal cases, the burden of proof is beyond a reasonable doubt. In our civil case, it's a preponderance of the evidence standard. In addition, we have causes of action for negligence against not only Mr. Baldwin, but the executive producers and various other crew members who were involved in the death. So our net is much wider, and many of the issues related to the negligence that caused Halyna's death were not part of the criminal case. So our case is more wide-ranging, and as I said before, we're now able to fully pursue it without Mr. Baldwin attempting to stay the action.
Okay.
What?
Let me just.
Sorry, one more question.
Yeah, we'll take more questions.
Gloria,
We'll take more.
I mean, as you know, her husband, Helena's husband and son settled the case with Mr. Baldwin. Why should the siblings and the mother be considered family as well, since in that view the family has reached an agreement?
Well, all my life, I always thought my parents were part of my family. I still do, even though they're deceased. So I can't understand anyone who thinks that parents should not have legal rights if their child becomes deceased as the result of someone else's negligence. A husband and a child definitely should have rights. And I think that New Mexico is very progressive in that it does provide a right to parents and to a sibling if they can prove a close relationship that they had with their deceased loved one. And we believe that we can prove that, even though Alec Baldwin's attorneys in the past, as part of the pleadings which they filed with the court, said that the parents were emotionally distant, that's quote, from Halyna. That's false. We can prove that it's false. We will prove that it's false. And it's very hurtful to Olga and Halyna's father and sister. Every time people talk about the family and don't include them, as they spent more time with her over the years when she was growing up, and they spent time while she was living in the United States. In many ways, they were extremely emotionally close and retained that relationship. So I understand the beginning, the press were saying the family settled because the press perhaps didn't know that she had living parents and sister living in Ukraine, living in a war zone, being bombed, Kyiv where they are, being bombed on a regular basis, hospitals, schools, residences. So, yeah, they're part of her family. They matter.
Gloria, what penalty would
Excuse me, I was going to say one other thing if I forget, but then I'll take your question. I'm paraphrasing, but Alec Baldwin said recently that he's looking forward to the truth coming out. So we're looking forward to his testimony under oath in his deposition as to what he thinks the truth really is and what's the basis for his conclusion that he's not responsible. So we'd like to hear his testimony under oath, so he tells the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, which he has not done to date in our case, because we haven't been able to take his deposition yet. We will be able to take it now because what he will testify to now will not incriminate him because he cannot be re-prosecuted now because the court dismissed it with prejudice, meaning it cannot be refiled, and because there will no longer be an appeal in New Mexico, and he can't be prosecuted elsewhere.
What penalty would the family like to see imposed on Alec Baldwin in the civil case?
Did you want to answer that? I couldn't hear it too well, but you can go ahead. Okay.
So in our civil case, obviously we're not seeking the arrest or the detention of Mr. Baldwin. Our civil case, we're seeking damages for the loss of the relationship that Halyna Hutchins had with her mother, father, and sister. And in the civil case, those damages are compensation that need to be paid to the family. And so the civil justice system is a bit different. Again, there are punitive damages as part of our complaint, which is meant to punish those that are responsible for negligent action so that it doesn't happen. It's supposed to be to dissuade other tragic situations like this from occurring. But so that is part of our lawsuit, but we are not seeking at this time, obviously through our civil case, anything more than that.
Can you say how much? Can you put a dollar figure on the damages?
We haven't even gotten to that point in the civil case yet. We have two hurdles to, in every civil case, we have to prove liability, which we're confident we're going to do. And then the second stage of any civil case is we then talk about the damages and the extent of the damages, and we want Mr. Baldwin and the producers to fully understand the extent of the damages that have suffered. And after we get through those two doors, then we can discuss actual monetary compensation, but that hasn't been a part of any discussion at this point.
Thank you.
since the civil case can now move forward, what, if anything, could prevent, at this point, Mr. Baldwin from being deposed?
A scheduling conflict, which we're happy to accommodate if he's on vacation. Certainly he's
Yeah,
entitled
and
to.
if he's, busy with his reality television show,
Right.
Okay, so.
But
I mean,
So it's a near certain.
if he thinks that's more important than the deposition under oath, again, we'll try to accommodate his schedule. But we always say just justice delayed is justice denied. And so we would like to proceed with diligence and litigate this lawsuit because it's more important now than ever, because it's the only way that our clients will ever achieve a measure of justice, which they deserve.
What do you think of his career, his Hollywood career moving forward with this reality show?
What do I think of his career?
To be unfazed by what's happened.
Okay. Here we go. You want to hold this? The
Yes.
mic. Okay, thank you. It's not over until it's over, and it's not over yet. That's what people should know. We are dedicated. I've been to New Mexico on a number of occasions, and we can proceed, as Carlos said, despite the result in the criminal case, because our proof that we have to offer is a lower standard of proof, a lower burden of proof. We just need to prove it by preponderance of evidence, that's this much, not by the high burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt in a criminal case. Although we think had the trial been permitted to proceed by the judge, we think there was a good chance that a jury might decide that he was guilty, even because they had so much proof ready to show to the jury that they thought would be admitted by the court. Any other questions?
I have one on Zoom.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
What involvement did your clients have in the February 2022 civil suit and settlement filed by Halyna's spouse?
Filed by
Yeah.
her former spouse, so, yeah.
Yeah.
We have no communication with Matthew. We do not have any communication other than about the procedures in the civil case with his attorney. I will just say, when we sent a letter raising another issue, which I will not disclose, he did not respond to our letters. Well, one letter that was important. That's his attorney I'm talking about. So, no, we had no involvement with his settlement whatsoever. And we have no involvement with his efforts to collect the settlement either. And I don't know if he's collected all of it yet.
Do you know how much it was?
Pardon me?
Do you know how much it was, the settlement?
I don't have any direct knowledge of how much it was. I just have what I've seen in news reports, and I don't know if they're accurate, so I don't know. But we wish him and Halyna's son, the best of luck in collecting their settlement. We have no problem with that at all. He was responsible, Alec Baldwin, and he is responsible still. Do you want to add anything else? That's it. I think that's it. Is there any more questions, Jar?
Make sure we have your name on camera and spelling too.
What did I say?
your name, spelling?
Oh, okay. We're going to give you copies right now with the correct spelling of everyone's name.
Perfect.
Is there any Spanish media at all here? I see Channel 52, but I don't know if.
Yeah, we could, I just,
You can stay afterwards and you'll.
Okay,
Perfect.
great.
Thank you so much for coming. And
Thank
here,
you.
here are the photos if you. Here, yeah.
We have